Okay, so I'm recording a quick video to try and explain to you a little bit more about the Cmip5 models, what the different pieces of information in those simulations are, and basically how you can navigate the Cmip5 web pages. So if you go to this is the main, no, that's not true. If you go to the page I've sent you, teaching, dissertation pages, you'll see the link to the Cmip5 archive. So if we take a look at that, we can then find the Cmip5 data. Ideally you log in, I've already logged in. Search with options. And then we get a whole variety of things that you can choose from down here. Now, in this situation, we're interested in Cmip5 data. So this is the variable you'd select. If I'd open this in Chrome, it would come up with a tick box so I could subdivide, so I could select that and it would select the options within Cmip5. Now, as you know, Cmip5 is the project that brings together all the climate model simulations for the last IPCC assessment. But what are these other options? Product, I wouldn't worry about at all. Institute simply is the organisation that ran the simulations. So MOHC is the Met Office Hadley Centre, for example. ECMWF, the European Medium Range Centre for Weather Forecasting. So these are the organisations who are doing this stuff. Again, you can ignore that. Model might be useful. So these are all the different models available, and for different variables, different sets of the models might be available. Typically, you'll probably find there's sort of 10 to 20, maybe 30 different models you can choose from. The one I've worked most with is Cmip5, but there's a whole bunch of options out there. So these are different models created by different organisations and run for the IPCC assessment. So they are individual climate models. What does experiment mean? Well, you've got a whole bunch of things here. Most of these you can ignore. A few of them are key. They're probably ones you'll use. So there's the historical experiment. There is the PI control, and then these RCP simulations. So to try and explain to you what they are, if we think about the pre-industrial control simulation first, if you think about any laboratory experiment, what you have is a control simulation where you don't change anything and you test the impact of the changes you're making against this control experiment. So that's what a pre-industrial control simulation is. It's simply an experiment that's just varying as it goes along, just due to its own natural variability. Okay, so this is time. This is, say, global mean temperature. Okay, so it's varying, but it's not got any systematic change because we're not forcing it with any change. Now, at some arbitrary point from this pre-industrial control, and this is just a simulation that has no, it's just an infinite simulation through the pre-industrial conditions. It might have time, years associated with it, but they're meaningless. It's just some period of time with the pre-industrial. Now, at some point in this, perhaps here, the climate modelling group have said, right, we're going to take the starting conditions from here, the weather at this point in this arbitrary space in pre-industrial time, and we're going to do a historical simulation. So the historical simulation will increase its global average temperature, other variables will change as CO2 goes into the atmosphere, other climate forcings vary. But you can also do you might start one of your historical simulations from this point, so you just get different weather conditions. It looks sort of similar, but perhaps slightly different. Maybe start another one from up here. And at this point, what you see is we've got 3 different historical experiments. The shape looks similar, but there's slightly different evolutions because they started from slightly different weather conditions, different points in that pre-industrial control run. And this is what we call an ensemble. It's a set of simulations that have the same climate forcing, but different initial conditions. Now this is important. We'll come back to ensembles in a bit. So that's pre-industrial control and historical. The other ones we want to talk about, these RCPs. Well, if you Google RCP, you'll find a bit about what it means, but these are basically the future scenarios. So the climate modelling groups will have run future scenarios from the ends of these different historical simulations. So one RCP might be like really rapidly rising atmospheric CO2 concentrations, rapidly increasing temperatures. One might be kind of mitigating temperatures, so low atmospheric CO2 increase. It's probably something in between. Typically, people do 4 simulations, RCP 8.5, RCP 2.6, and in between you've got 4.5